As the NFL enters its most decisive moment, the spotlight is not only on the field but also in the interview rooms of the franchises. While the conference championship games promise historic matchups, the coaching market is in full swing. The Buffalo Bills, in particular, have drawn attention for seriously considering an open search for a new head coach, open enough to even include Philip Rivers, a name as surprising as it is intriguing.
Yes, former quarterback Philip Rivers. Rivers has never coached in the college or the pros, but does coach high school football in Alabama. The Bills also interviewed former Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel on Friday. For more of this kind of thing, we welcome in our NFL insider, Dan Graziano. Dan, the Bills said they cast a wide-open search for head coach. I didn't know it was Philip Rivers wide. What else can you tell us about this list of candidates that's expanding by the minute?
Yeah, they weren't kidding if they said wide. Look, I mean, Philip Rivers is an interesting candidate in that he's never coached at the collegiate or pro level. I think these are exploratory conversations, not to say they couldn't lead anywhere, but Philip Rivers has some interest in coaching, and I think the Bills want to get a sense of what he's about. Has a good relationship with Josh Allen, who's in on these head coach interviews as well. They've already spoken with their own offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, their former offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll. You mentioned a couple guys today. They talked to Lou Anarumo, the Colts defensive coordinator. More interviews set up for this weekend. Anthony Lynn, Anthony Weaver tomorrow, Grant Udinsky on Sunday. None of these guys are coaching in the games this weekend. Buffalo can't get to those guys except for the two teams that lose. They can talk to their coaches next week if they want to. The two teams that win Sunday, they're going to have to wait until after the Super Bowl if they're interested in them, because Buffalo wasn't able to conduct an initial round of interviews with those candidates because they still had Sean McDermott as their head coach.
Okay, 5 teams still looking for coaches, 4 teams still playing. Starting in the NFC, Dan, what injury updates can you provide for these conference championship games?
Well, Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold has been dealing with an oblique issue the last couple of weeks. He did play Sunday. It wasn't a problem. And they managed him through the practice week with limited practices this week. But he's off the injury report, no designation, good to go. Said the week went well and that he feels good and is excited, obviously, to play against the Rams in the NFC Championship game. The Broncos opened the practice window this week for running back J.K. Dobbins, been out since week 10 with a foot injury, but he will not play on Sunday. They ruled him out on their final injury report of the week. So Dobbins, if the Broncos advance, he'll get another couple of weeks ahead of the Super Bowl and maybe be activated in time to play in that, again, if the Broncos advance against the Patriots, who opened the practice window for wide receiver Mac Hollins this week. They are listing him as questionable after limited practices yesterday and today. So they'll have to activate him by 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow if he's going to be eligible to play Sunday. So we'll watch for that news. Hollins, a big factor for the Patriots in the passing game as a deep threat, also in the running game as a blocker. They could stand to get him back ahead of this matchup against the tough Broncos defense.
All right, Dan getting us all caught up on this Friday evening. For more on Championship Sunday, let's go to Mike and Frank with our PTI bonus topic.
As the NFL enters its most decisive moment, the spotlight is not only on the field but also in the interview rooms of the franchises. While the conference championship games promise historic matchups, the coaching market continues to heat up. The Buffalo Bills, in particular, have garnered attention by seriously considering an open search for a new head coach, open enough to include even Philip Rivers, a name as surprising as it is intriguing. Commentary: Philip Rivers' interview symbolizes the current moment for the Bills: curiosity, exploration, and a willingness to hear different ideas even without experience as a coach in college or the NFL. Rivers carries leadership, locker room knowledge, and a direct connection with Josh Allen, a significant factor in this process. Still, it's clear that Buffalo is not betting everything on a single profile. The list of candidates is extensive and diverse, including experienced names like Brian Daboll, Mike McDaniel, and respected coordinators in the league. Meanwhile, on the field, the atmosphere is one of pure tension. In the AFC Championship, the Patriots and Broncos face off with strong narratives. On one side, Drake Maye facing his first major test in the playoffs. On the other, Jarrett Stidham returning to the spotlight after more than 2 years without starting a game. The key to the game lies directly in the defensive pressure, especially with Denver's pass rush trying to exploit the recent sack and fumble issues of the young New England quarterback. In the NFC Championship, the Rams and Seahawks delivered a true modern classic. Two previous games decided by minimal details, talented offenses against elite defenses, and the factor of Lumen Field weighing heavily compared to a few stadiums in the league. For Seattle, everything revolves around consistently pressuring Matthew Stafford. For the Rams, keeping Stafford clean and relying on the return of key pieces like Devontae Adams could be the differentiator.
All right, Frank, NFC or AFC, which is the more interesting conference championship game?
All right, so you have the third time around for the Rams and the Seahawks, but I'm going to go out to Denver. I think before the season started, I don't think a lot of us thought we'd see the Patriots in Denver playing the Broncos to go to the Super Bowl. And the Patriots have come all the way back. New coach, new quarterback, great team, one win away from going to a Super Bowl. 8-0, they are on the road, but the organization, the Patriots, have never won a playoff game in Denver. They're 0-4. And what's interesting about this game, you have the young quarterback Drake Maye, the MVP candidate. Then you have Jarrett Stidham, who has not thrown a pass, Mike, since January of 2023. So it's been a while since he's done anything. And I think for Sean Payton, it's a big-time challenge for him. And I think he looks at it as, you're going to give me a week to prepare my guy to play with the defense that I have in Denver. I like my chances. I think that game has a lot more intrigue than people think.
Yeah, the losing of the starting quarterback in Denver, Bo Nix, takes a lot of the luster off that to me. And even if he was there, though, Frank, I'm going to go with the third time between two division opponents in 1 year. We just saw the Packers and the Bears do this, and look how incredible the third game was. The two games have been close, razor close. There's no reason to think that the third one won't be close between the Rams and Seahawks. Offense versus defense. The presumed MVP out there in Matthew Stafford in a place that just has a magical feel to it. I presume you've been to a game in Seattle. If you haven't been to a playoff game there, it reverberates. It is just an incredible place to watch a playoff game. No, I'm going with that game. I feel bad that Denver doesn't have his quarterback. I mean, we can go back over time. You can find a case here, a case there, where somebody had a few snaps. Roger Staubach in 1972, played some snaps in the previous game, and then he wound up playing the bulk of the championship game. So it's not completely unprecedented, but NFC. I'm not going to say it's Ali Frazier, Frank, but it's two heavyweights throwing at each other.
Yeah, 2 years since Jarrett Stidham threw his last pass. Let me ask you a question. The league office right up the street, they want to see a backup quarterback in the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks? No. Not so sure.
And that's why.
That's it?
Welcome back to SportsCenter. Sunday's AFC Championship game is the sixth playoff meeting between the Patriots and Broncos. Denver has won the four previous games, all four wins in Denver, which includes victories in the 2013 and 15 AFC Championship games. Tom Brady never won a playoff game in Denver, going 0-3. Drake Maye gets his first chance on Sunday. And New England faces a player they drafted, Jarrett Stidham, who's the seventh quarterback to make his first start of a season in the postseason. 5 of the previous 6 lost, the only exception being Frank Reich in the Bills' historic comeback win over Houston in 1992. Let's head on the scene to our AFC reporters, starting with Mike Reese.
David, Drake Maye arrived at this interview podium behind me after the Patriots' final practice of the week Friday. He had a big smile on his face. He thought the Patriots had a good week of practice. The team is scheduled to depart for Denver early Saturday afternoon, and Maye was asked what he knows about the playoffs now that he didn't know before.
I don't know if as much as I didn't know, just what I didn't feel. I think the feeling of the intensity, the pressure. They always talk about the importance of home playoff games. I didn't really understand that till I was in one and understand what the crowd can do and what the feeling like is going to be going on the road in playoff games. Looking forward to experiencing that.
Maye highlighted the challenge ahead for the Patriots, noting that since Sean Payton became Broncos head coach 2 years ago, only 3 teams have gone into Denver and won. For more on the Broncos, let's go to Jeremy Fowler.
Hey Mike, the Broncos game plan is in, and Jarrett Stidham is primed and ready for his first NFL start in over 2 years. But Denver wants the spotlight off the quarterback. Super Bowl winning coach Sean Payton made sure of it in his message to the team.
I'm not worried about Stiddy in this game. I'm worried about everyone else, all right, and how we play, and that really is the truth.
You know, when he's running plays, calling, our plays in a walkthrough period or, every week, there's never hesitation. I mean, he knows it cold, so no concerns there. I'm excited to watch him play.
Stidham made the Broncos offense feel at ease from the first practice snap. Right tackle Mike McGlinchey told me that Stidham was in complete command in the huddle at the start of Wednesday's practice. No rah-rah speech, all business. Stiddy's done an unbelievable job this week, McGlinchey said. He's ready for it. Back to you, David.
And now for more, we're joined by our NFL analyst, Mina Kimes. Mina, Broncos 4.5-point home underdogs. So give us a path for them to land an upset on Sunday.
I think it starts with the pass rush, which of course has been a strength of this Denver Broncos team all season long. But I think it also matters because Drake Maye, as good as he's been this year, he's had an MVP caliber season. He has been fumbling the football, and he's taken a fair amount of sacks in the postseason. You saw that, of course, against a very excellent Houston Texans pass rush. And in the last game against Buffalo, for all the attention paid to the quarterbacks, I thought Nick Bonito, the Broncos' star pass rusher, was unbelievable. And, of course, he forced 2 fumbles of his own in that game. To me, to pull off the upset, Denver has to get Drake Maye to put the football on the ground. Bonito versus the rookie left tackle Will Campbell seems to be their best path to doing so.
Yeah, Will Campbell's been having a tough postseason. Drake Maye has been sacked 10 times and fumbled 6 times in the last 2 games. Got to clean that up against one of the best pass rushers in football Sunday. All right, Mina, let's go into some head-to-head matchups, starting with the Patriots offense.
Yeah, I'm looking at Stephon Diggs, the Patriots' veteran wide receiver, in part because I think the best way to attack this Broncos defense is quick game. When the ball comes out quick, 2.5 seconds or less, they're actually below average in EPA per play, despite being otherwise excellent. And quick game, when I think quick game, I think Stephon Diggs, getting the ball very quickly and then picking up yards after the catch. Jaquan McMillan, the slot corner, is someone I would look to match him up against in that regard. I think he can be very helpful for Drake Maye in terms of getting the ball out quickly and avoiding some of those sacks and fumbles we discussed earlier. Flipping to the other side of the ball, a matchup that I think is really fascinating is Sean Payton, Broncos head coach, veteran play caller, one of the oldest, most experienced coaches in the NFL, versus a very young, inexperienced play caller in the Patriots defense, Zach Ertz, who's been excellent this year. Now, he has an advantage, which is he is going up, of course, against Jarrett Stidham. So I think for Sean Payton, the challenge here is, given everything the Patriots have been doing on defense, so much blitzing, coverage disguise, can you find easy answers for your quarterback who's been thrust into the spotlight?
Yeah, Patriots defense actually been really pretty good the last couple of weeks after sort of being sideways the back half of the season. Milton Williams helps with that, that's for sure. Mina giving us her thoughts on the AFC game. Back for the 3rd time this season, the Rams and Seahawks will meet, but this time a lot more on the line. How about a trip to Super Bowl 60? It would be the Rams' 3rd trip under Sean McVay and 2nd with Matthew Stafford. Seattle trying to get to its first Super Bowl since Malcolm Butler's famous goal line interception 11 years ago. There's not much daylight between the Rams and Seahawks, judging from their 2 regular season matchups. Both games decided by less than a field goal, and the yardage totals are nearly identical. Let's send it out to our NFC reporters, starting with Lindsay Theory on the scene.
David, the Rams will go into Sunday's NFC Championship game with nearly a perfect bill of health. One player, linebacker Byron Young, will be listed as questionable. The most notable available player, it has to be receiver Davante Adams. This will be his 3rd game back since dealing with a hamstring injury, and it's notable because Adams, who led the league with 14 touchdown receptions, was sidelined in the Rams' Week 16 loss to the Seahawks. Teammate Puka Nacua says having Adams this time around will provide a confidence boost for the entire team, and he calls Adams a huge advantage for us. Quarterback Matthew Stafford says he looks forward to having Adams back in the lineup.
Yeah, just a great player. Anytime you can add a great player and put him out there on the grass, it's going to be a huge, boost for your team. We know what he's done for us all season, able to put the ball in the end zone, convert on 3rd down, make big plays in the pass game. So having another guy out there that can do that is a huge plus for us. So excited to have him back, excited for him to be healthy and feeling good going into this game with the opportunity to go make some plays.
The Rams wrapped up their on-field preparation for the NFC Championship this afternoon. Sean McVay tells me his players handled this week business as usual, and he loves that because consistency is important in these moments. McVay wants his team to be able to go cut it loose and have no regrets. Here's Brady with the Seahawks.
Thanks, Lindsay. Sam Darnold has no injury designation for the NFC Championship game. He is good to go after being limited in practice all 3 days this week because of his oblique injury. Darnold told me he's felt really good all week and that he feels like he's right where he should be in terms of his rehab process. Now, Darnold will have his starting left tackle, Charles Cross, protecting his blind side against the Rams. He'll be backed by the NFL's top-ranked scoring defense, as well as a raucous crowd at Lumen Field.
It's going to be incredible. I don't know how you topped last week, but I'm sure the 12s will. They always bring it for us, and so we're excited for them.
Since 2005, the Seahawks are 11-1 in home playoff games. Their only loss in that span was to the Rams during the 2020 COVID season when there were no fans at Lumen Field, but that building is going to be packed on Sunday. Coach Mike McDonald told me, quote, "The place is going to be rocking. It's going to be electric." David?
All right, let's bring Mina Kimes back in. Mina, obviously this one is a very tough call. We have empirical evidence to back that up. Really two close games. So what's the determining factor here between these teams and who goes to the Super Bowl?
I think whether or not the Seahawks defense, which of course has been extraordinary this year, can get pressure on Matthew Stafford. In Week 16, for the first 3 quarters of the game, they only had a 15% pressure rate, and Stafford was carving them up. Then in the fourth quarter, the pass rush came alive. That pressure rate more than doubled to 37%. I believe for Seattle to pull this off, they're going to have to be better than just one quarter, than they were for one quarter, in the last game. Because what we've seen was with Stafford is that when he's kept clean, he's been unbelievable. But when he's been pressured this year, he does look like a different quarterback.
This season, the Rams do have the tie for the fewest sacks allowed in the NFL. All right, so give us an X factor for this game for each team. Let's start with the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Rams defense and mention a player who didn't play in Week 16. That's their hybrid nickel safety, Quentin Lake, who is so important, as you saw against Chicago, making key plays against the run at the goal line. But he also allows the Rams to play less base defense, meaning 3 linebackers on the field, which is something that Seattle shredded last time. So they'd like to be able to stop the run with lighter bodies. Lake is a big factor.
Whether in the search for a new coach or in the fight for a spot in the Super Bowl, the NFL is in the moment of decisions that shape the future of the franchises. For some, it's time to be bold and think outside the box, like the Bills are doing. For others, it's win now or see an entire season end in frustration. Amid uncertainties, tactical adjustments, and the close margin gains, one thing is certain. We are facing one of the most intense and unpredictable weekends in American football.